Who won this patch and who lost it? And some people won it in such a big way. It's unbelievable. Jake, your resident content cowboy here. Yeehaw! Let's get into this newest patch, winners and losers. I feel like it's unreasonable to start talking about this patch without talking about Metagross, who is an absolute massive winner. In fact, it's such a massive winner that I think we probably need to do something about this Pokemon. Playing it early on, especially with Meteor Mash, you're like, okay, this is really, really good. Playing it more and more with Gyro Ball, I'm thinking, okay, this thing is actually in the position where it might need a nerf very, very fast. And I'm not kidding. I'm not being hyperbolic, like, oh my god, to busted, or something like that for a YouTube thumbnail. I actually think something is crazy, crazy broken with this build. The cooldown is so insanely low, which doesn't seem like a problem, but the shield is so high that you're really able to brawl forever, and nothing can stop you except kind of something that does true damage. Like, you might be able to use T-Tar or Shifu a little bit against it, but in general, it's just crazy overpowered. However, strangely, a loser of this patch is still Metagross's Unite move that is much, much better, but can get canceled in weird ways and is very, very dumb. Metagross in general, huge winner. The Unite move, a bit of a head scratcher, but we couldn't even start talking about this patch without starting with Metagross, who is like the huge winner of this whole thing. Let's talk about another winner, and I wasn't sure this was going to be as big as it was, but Sylveon's buffs are really, really nice. Its Unite move buff is amazing. You actually get to use your Unite a lot inside of fights, and you use it a lot inside of a match. You can do really good damage with it now, so it's not just a get out of jail free card anymore. You can actually use it to chase down some pretty big KOs, and in general, just more special attack is great for Sylveon. This puts Sylveon in a position, especially with Hyper Voice, Calm Mind, and its passive Pixelate, to just get a crazy amount of special attack and do tons and tons of damage. I was pleasantly surprised to see how well it was doing inside of games, and while it's not profoundly broken or something like that like Metagross, you still will have games where you do absurd damage with this Pokemon. Let's talk about a loser, and that is Zacian. Zacian got a very sizable nerf with this patch, and next month, like actually not next month, very, very soon, as we head into the next season of Ranked, EX Pokemon are banned inside of Master Rank. So they're already banned, and Zacian is getting further buffs. Excuse me, further nerfs. Oh my gosh, further buffs. Oh, Zacian. It's getting further nerfs, and I'm guessing this is so that it has a possibility of being used in the Unite Championship Series and the Asia Champions League. If it's completely broken, it just has to either be fully banned by the tournament or banned out every single game, and it's better to have the option for players to actually use this. However, it being an EX Pokemon puts it in this really weird spot where it's by design supposed to be OP. I guess that's what EX would mean in this game. However, it's getting a nerf. I don't know, it's just confusing, but without question, it is a confusing loser. Ha! Zacian, you confusing loser. We might as well get to it while we're talking about losers of this patch, and Zacian is a loser, but of course, Dodrio and all three of its different hats are a bit of a loser here. I'm disappointed by it. I actually don't think it needs a nerf. I understand the Pokemon is very good in the right hands, but there are so many Pokemon that you should nerf before this thing. It's wild to me. However, they wanted to nerf Drill Peck. They wanted to make me specifically upset, and they did just that. Well, thank you very much, Pokemon Unite. I think I've been pretty kind to you over the years, but you know what? The gloves are off. The new Battle Pass is dumb. It shouldn't be Gardevoir. Take that. Another big winner, speaking of Gardevoir, it's Gardevoir. Gardevoir's Unite move cooldown is amazing. So Gardevoir in general is mostly the same. It has a change to its teleport, which is really small, just kind of an early game cooldown change, but its Unite move is now on the craziest lowest cooldown of all time, and it really makes it so missing Guard Unite moves is not this horrible thing that it used to be. Missing a Gardevoir Unite move used to be the saddest thing in the world, but you actually get them really frequently, and I found myself using them in most every single engagement I run into the enemies. I was also running Energy Amplifier, so it charges a little faster, and at the same time, you know, you're farming with Gardevoir, and its Unite move cooldown is so low, you get that big extra burst of damage when you catch them in the Unite, which was really, really fun. Guard is a surprise winner, even though the buffs didn't look that huge. Another big winner for sure is Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff has been kind of out of the meta, sort of on the weird outskirts for a long time, but these buffs are really nice. Dazzling Gleam is just a much better secure move for KOs and a secure move against wild Pokemon right now. And at the same time, Sing is just so much better. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some teams trying to run this in competitive play, as long as they're not running into Umbreon. It really isn't that big of a deal. Its Unite move is very powerful. Resonant Guard is great on it. It's easy with EXP share, so I really think we could see Wiggly actually moving into some competitive play, and it's just an excellent Pokemon in most other forms as well. It's a team-wide Unite, it's a great secure, and Sing is now really brutal. Let's talk about another loser, and that's Lapras. There's no question that Lapras is still going to be a very good Pokemon. I played with it and Dodrio, to be fair, inside of my stream where I was testing everything out in the patch, and both of them are still doing fine. But Lapras is a big loser in a few ways because there are just so many other Pokemon in that role that could probably also use a slight tuning down if that's what we're looking for, and instead it only hits Lapras. I'm kind of surprised, but apparently they're seeing something with Lapras. Possibly most of what they're seeing is in uncoordinated play where Lapras is an absolute beast, but I guess they're seeing something with Lapras that made them want to nerf it. And this moves me to a winner of this patch, and that's Umbreon. Umbreon escaping with no nerfs, but Lapras getting nerfs is amazing for Umbreon. This is a Pokemon that still could absolutely use a toning down, especially to things like Mean Look and Snarl. Just basically everything Umbreon does is really incredible, and the fact that it completely Neo from the Matrix style dodged nerfs and somehow they all hit Lapras is a surprise. Let's talk about two other losers from this patch before we talk about some more winners, and one that's a little bit of a head scratcher. I think two losers from this patch are Zard and Scizor. So Charizard and Scizor Scyther could probably all use buffs, and when you see Metagross buffed up to the way it is, Metagross, Blaziken, Mimikyu, all these recent all-rounders, Zacian, Mewtwo X, then you have Scizor Scyther and you have Charizard, who are all fine, like varying levels of fine, but it feels like they are not being looked after at all. And when you see Metagross in this state, as a Pokemon that fights and brawls and gets massive shields, and then you look at Scizor especially, that just feels incredibly cruel. It feels like you're being mean specifically to Scizor. Here's a little bit of a head scratcher from the patch. A build I love, but got some kind of okay buffs, was Cinderace's Pyro Ball Feint build. In fact, Pyro Ball got a very small buff, which is its burn damage is increased, and Feint got a move speed buff on its use, which is kind of cool, but it feels like maybe a slight, what's the right way to put this? It feels like maybe it's too small. It feels like these buffs they didn't want to tune it up too much, but boy, it could have used a little bit more. Again, I still love the build. I had so much fun playing it on stream, and I plan on playing it some more because it's my favorite way to play Cinderace, but I do think you could have probably done a little more with both of these moves to make this build even more viable. And now for our two final winners of this patch. Finally, we're going to talk about Zeraora, who without question getting a wild charge damage buff and a volt switch damage buff is without question a winner of this patch. A Pokemon that's been doing pretty well for a while, and then Mewtwo meta made it a whole thing, and we all kind of forgot about it. But Zeraora is actually in a pretty dang good position in the game right now, and these are just some nice buffs for this Pokemon. And then finally, a big winner of this patch is you. No, I kid. It's Mewtwo, Y and X. Mewtwo, Y, and X for some reason completely avoiding nerfs, while Zacian still getting nerfs. Don't get me wrong, Zacian was the best of the three, but if we are nerfing these Pokemon, we should be nerfing all three of them, I would assume. I know we're still in the last days of the Mewtwo, Y, and X Battle Pass, so maybe that's why we're not seeing those nerfs, but Mewtwo is definitely a winner getting no nerfs from this patch. Let me know what you think in the comments. Who do you think the biggest winner is, and who do you think the biggest loser is? I would love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I love you. I'm gonna see you all next time. We did it. Oh, by the way, if you wanted to see any of these Pokemon I talked about, I have a ton of videos on my channel about all of the buffs. All right, love you guys.